Hello and welcome to Let the Day Go. My name is Richard. I'm a real human and I'm going to be reading you this story this evening. So get comfortable, however you like to lie. Get yourself there, get all set, shift about, pull the duvet up. There's no rush for any of this. Tonight, you're sorting out the shed. It's a Sunday afternoon in October. It's raining, and you've been meaning to do this for months. That's it. That's the whole thing. So, let's go down to the garden. You're standing at the back door with a mug of tea in one hand and the shed key in the other. The rain isn't heavy. It's the steady kind. The kind that's clearly booked the whole afternoon and isn't going anywhere. The garden's gone into its autumn state. The grass is too wet to cut and past caring. There are leaves on the lawn from the next door's sycamore, dark and flattened down. And the whole place has that soaked, quiet look that gardens get when the year is winding in. You pull your hood up, not that it matters much over 20 feet, and you'll walk down the path. The paving slabs are dark with rain. There's moss in the joints, soft and swollen. Your boots make that flat, wet sound with each step, and rain taps on your hood just by your ear, in no particular rhythm. The shed sits at the bottom, up against the fence. It's nothing special. 6 by 8 felt roof, one window with a cobweb in the corner that's been there so long it's practically a fitting. The timber has gone silver grey where the treatment's worn and darker where the rain is soaking in. The padlock is cold, proper cold. The first properly cold metal of the season. The key goes in stiff, turns, and the hasp swings back with a clack. The door drags on the frame like it always does, swollen with damp, and you give it a lift and pull like you've done 100 times, and it comes open. And there it is, that smell. Every shed has it. Yours is creosote mostly, old creosote, years deep in the timber. Then sawdust under that, a bit of engine oil from the mower, compost, rust, dry cardboard, all of it mixed together into something that isn't any one of those things anymore. It's just the smell of the shed. You step in out of the rain, and the sound changes completely. Outside, the rain was around you. In here, it's above you. On the felt roof, it's a low, soft drumming. Thousands of taps a minute, all blurring into one steady sound. It fills the whole shed. It's the best sound there is. Rain on a shed roof, and you've got a whole afternoon of it. You put your tea down on the bench and have a look at what you're dealing with. It's not a disaster. It's just drift. A year of putting things down in the nearest space instead of the right one. The workbench has vanished under a layer of stuff. There's a coil of hose that should be on a hook, 3 plant pots stacked inside each other on the stool, a bag of compost slumped against the leg of the bench like it's given up, paintbrushes standing in a jar of water that evaporated sometime around June. Nothing that can't be sorted out in an afternoon. And you've got an afternoon. You start with the bench, because the bench is the heart of the operation. Can't sort a shed out without somewhere to put things while you sort them. You clear it one item at a time. No sweeping things into a box to deal with later. That's how it got like this. Each thing gets picked up, looked at, and given a decision. A tape measure. That lives in the drawer. In it goes. A stub of pencil, flat on one side so it doesn't roll. Bench drawer as well, in the front corner where pencils go. A Jubilee clip. No idea where that came from. It's a good Jubilee clip though, so it goes in the jar with the other Jubilee clips, because there's always a jar with the other Jubilee clips. The rain keeps up its drumming overhead. You can hear it running off the roof edge now. A thin trickle into slabs outside the door. Somewhere out in the garden, a wood pigeon is making its 5-note remark about it all, muffled and unbothered. You work along the bench, screwdriver back in the rack, a folded sandpaper sheet, half used, into the sandpaper box. A pair of gloves, stiff with old dirt, shaken out and laid flat on the shelf. The paintbrush jar gets tipped out onto the floor to drain in the rain. Brushes worked between your fingers, check them, 2 keepers and 1 for the bin. Slowly, the bench surface comes back. Scarred old ply, paint drips from jobs long finished, a burn mark from something you've forgotten. The whole history of the shed written into one board. You give it a wipe down with a rag, and it's a workbench again. You have a mouthful of tea. It's on its way to lukewarm, but that's shed tea. Shed tea is meant to be drunk at whatever temperature it's reached by the time you remember it's there. Right, the jars. On the shelf above the bench, there's a row of jam jars, and every one of them is full of ironmongery, screws mostly. Also nails, washers, wall plugs, hooks, and the mystery jar, which is the one where things go when they don't fit anywhere else. You take the first jar down and pour it out slowly onto the bench. It makes a sound like heavy rain, funnily enough, a rush of metal spreading across the wood. And then you sort. Wood screws to one side, drawn together with the edge of your hand. Machine screws over there, washers in a pile of their own. Your fingers move through the heap, and the screws are cold at first, properly cold from a night and day in an unheated shed. But they warm up as you handle them. Cold metal warming in the hand. There's not much else like it. You're not in a hurry. That's the whole point. Each screw gets a glance, brass or steel, big or small, and finds its pile. The rain drums on. Every so often, a gust pushes it harder against the window for a few seconds and then eases off again. Jar by jar, the shelf gets sorted. Wood screws together, nails together, the bent ones out, because life's too short to straighten nails. Whatever your granddad thought. The wall plugs, all colours into one jar of their own. A little traffic light collection of red and brown and grey. The mystery jar you save for last, as a treat. It's got a certain hook in it. 2 odd keys that open nothing you own. A single dice. A spring from a clothes peg. A rubber foot of something you're not quite sure of. You look at each item, fail to identify most of them, and then put them back in the mystery jar, because that's where they live. The mystery jar isn't a problem to solve. It's a fixture. The jars go back on the shelf in a row. Labels facing out where they still have labels. You stand back and look at them, and it's a small thing. A row of jam jars. But it's a good small thing. More tea. Definitely lukewarm now. Doesn't matter. The floor next. You lift the bag of compost off the floor and sit it upright in the corner. Fold the top over and put a brick on it. The hose gets coiled properly, elbow and hand, round and round, until it's a neat loop, and up onto its hook on the wall where it's supposed to hang. It leaves behind a clean circle of floor where it's been lying all summer. The plant pots get stacked by size and slid under the bench. There's a seed tray down there too, and last year's netting, and you square it all off away into the underbench space, which is where that sort of thing belongs. Every shed has an underbench space, and its job is to hold the stuff you'll need in spring. The light outside is starting to change. It was flat grey when you came down, and now it's a heavier grey. The afternoon leaning towards the evening, the way October afternoons do, early and without apology. The window's gone dim. You reach up and click on the shed light, one bare bulb, and the whole place warm and yellow within a few seconds, and the window turns into a dark mirror with rain crawling down it. It's better in here now than out there. That's official. The tools on the wall get a once-over. The spade, the fork, the rake, the hoe, each one lifted off its nails, given a wipe down the blade with a rag, and hung back up. The fork has dried mud on the tines from the last job it did, and you knock it off with the heel of your hand, and it drops to the floor in dry crumbs, which is fine, because the floor's getting swept anyway. The saw comes off its hook. You sight down it, wipe the blade, drop a touch of oil onto the rag, and run it along the steel. It goes back up. Same for the shears. The mower, in its corner, gets its grass box lifted up, tipped out of the door, and clipped back on. It's done for the year, most likely. You push it square into its corner, and it sits there, like it's been dismissed until spring. Rain, still on the roof. It hasn't let up once. If anything, it's settled in deeper. That long, steady Sunday rain that sounds like it could go all night, and probably will. There's one more shelf, the high one, above the window where the paint lives. You reach up and bring the tins down one at a time, and each one gets the shake test. Hold it by the handle, give it a swirl, and listen. The first one sloshes, half full, and the label says it's the colour of the front door, so that stays. The second one is emulsion from a room you painted 2 houses worth of decorating ago. You lever the lid up with an old screwdriver that lives on the ledge exactly for this job. And inside, it's gone solid. A rubbery skin over something that's finished being paint. That one goes by the door for the tip run, whenever the tip run happens. The third tin is small, gloss white, and heavier than it looks. Sloshes nicely. Every shed needs a tin of white gloss. It stays. There's a jar of white spirit up there too, gone cloudy, and a bundle of paint stirrers, which are just offcuts of wood that got promoted. You wipe the shelf with the rag, put the keepers back in a line with their labels facing out, and stand the screwdriver back on the ledge, ready for next time. The tip pile by the door has grown to 2 tins and the dead paintbrush. That's a result. A shed sort out that doesn't produce a tip pile hasn't been done properly. You straighten your back and roll your shoulders, and take a moment just standing there in the middle of it, hands on hips, having a look around. The rain drums on. The bulb hums faintly, the way bare bulbs do. Nothing needs you for a minute, so you give it a minute. Then you take the broom down. Sweeping a shed is one of the great jobs. There's hardly anything to it. You start at the back corner and work towards the door, and the broom gathers it all up as it goes. Sawdust, the dried mud off the fork, dead leaves that came in on your boots, a couple of screws that escaped the sorting, which you bend down and pick up one by one wood, one machine, and post them in their jars. The pile gets pushed to the doorway, and then with one last stroke out, onto the wet slabs, where the rain starts taking it apart immediately. And you stand in the doorway with the broom, and you look back into the shed. The bench is clear, the jars are in a row, the hose is on its hook, the tools are on their nails, the floor is swept, and the bulb is throwing warm light over all of it. It smells the same as it did when you opened the door. Creosote and sawdust and oil. But now it looks like how it smells. It's done. You finish the tea, cold now, in 2 swallows. The mug goes in your hand, the rag gets folded on the bench corner, and you reach up and click off the light. The shed goes dark, and the rain carries on drumming above in the dark, same as before, not needing an audience. You pull the door to, lift and pull until it seats into the frame. The hasp folds over, the padlock clicks shut, cold again already, and you give it a tug, because you always give it a tug. Then you walk back up the path. The rain's on your hood again, tap, tap, by your ear. The lit kitchen window is ahead of you, warm and yellow through the wet dark, and your boots go flat and steady on the slabs. The garden's out there around you, black shapes and dripping sounds of it all settled in for the night. At the back door, you stop under the little porch roof and take your boots off. One hand braced on the wall, first boot, second boot. They go side by side on the mat as you step into the kitchen in your socks. Warm, quiet, the kettle goes on, more out of habit than need. You wash your hands in the kitchen sink, warm water working at the day, the smell of shed rinsing away, and you dry them on the towel that hangs on the oven door. The rain is on the kitchen window now instead of your hood. It sounds different from indoors, softer. You do the last small rounds of the house, the doors, the lights, one by one, each room dropping into dark behind you. The landing's last light. And then you're in bed. The bed's cold at first, the way it always is, and then slowly it isn't. The duvet settles its weight around you. Outside, faintly, the rain keeps going. On the roof, on the road, on the shed at the bottom of the garden, with everything inside it squared away in the dark. The jars are sorted, the bench is clear, the door is locked. There's nothing down there that needs anything from you. There's nothing up here that needs anything from you either. Your legs go heavy first, then your arms. Then the pillow gets deeper, somehow the way pillows do right at the end of the day. Your breathing is slowed down all by itself. Notice that. You didn't have to do anything. The day's done what days do. It's gone quiet. And it's letting you go. So let it. Sleep well.